All right, welcome back to another episode of Regeneration Nation with your hosts, Alex and Caesar.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great episode ahead of us today. We're going to be chatting about a few really important topics based on, the last few current weeks with the election in America. We have a lot of changes to the agriculture systems happening in Canada and the States with these new tariffs. We're going to be chatting a little bit about desertification and a few other aspects of desertification, which is really important to our future in North America, the whole world really, but certainly where we are in a standpoint where we're young farmers, we're really actively looking to discuss how we can change the world through our efforts into regenerative agriculture, and starting at a small scale and kind of working our way through education platforms and what we're doing now. So thank you all for being here and for taking the time.
What we want to deliver in this podcast and over the series of our podcasts are a positive message and something tangible that you can use to look at our planet, look at all of the challenges that we have in our planet, and have a tangible method and outlook to say we can have this sustainable abundance, the abundance that we have right now that has been generated from our industrial modern world that we are benefiting from. And we can take this abundance and be sustainable in a completely regenerative way. So instead of taking from the planet to have this abundance, we can create the abundance of energy, the abundance of food, the abundance of water, the abundance of peace, the abundance of happiness and being able to enjoy the outdoors, and the abundance of biodiversity, abundance of clean air, all of these things that the world and the earth provided us before our technologies provided us the modern day that we live in, and traveling and having these robust, fulfilled lives, but regenerating the earth in the process. So humans leaving the earth better than we found it. And this is what we really want to be delivering on these podcasts. And everything that we're going to be talking is in this context. Caesar is doing this on the ground right now at Polygreen Acres with his farm, his regenerative farming, and regenerating the soil, the living, breathing soil with all the complex ecosystem that the soil has, and what the soil and the earth provides us in the context of this beautiful bed where it grows all of life, right? And you're doing this on the ground right now at Polygreen Acres Farm. It's been wonderful to see the progression of it. We are coming at you after we've done a really beautiful farm camp where we brought children to the farm as well, which was really exciting. This summer, I joined Caesar's son, baby Rio, on the farm, and he led the way. The best, best kid ever.
He was having a great time. Just having even children on the farm working together, doing little activities, learning about the garden, just being in the garden, and baby Rio showing up and just being able to walk. I just started walking and being involved with the kids, and the little kid, they were just carrying him and stuff. It was really sweet. And, eating carrots. One day we picked him up and he was just covered in compost. We're like, oh my gosh, he's like out of control, treading through the gardens and really, really just enjoying himself. It's just really nice to see children in the environment of just play and doing the things that they should be doing, and being in the garden, getting their hands dirty, learning about the systems that feed us. It's quite literally our mission to teach everybody around us in our vicinity and within our reach to learn about growing food abundance, food sovereignty, being able to do it yourselves and doing it in a responsible way. So I think that's kind of the stronger mission, to educate people on better ways to have a more sustainable way of living, and even growing your own food at home in your own backyards in a very small space, in the organic way, in the regenerative way, right? So that's the future for us. And with that said, we have some items we want to discuss based on what our future looks like, because we definitely have to think about, especially in America, the politics of America certainly affect Canada. That's really, really key to take into consideration, that we really can't divorce ourselves from the biggest economy in the world, who is frankly the largest trader of agricultural goods to us, and we export a lot of our goods to America. They're the biggest buyer of our goods. So I think that relationship is key for our agriculture to evolve. Next, to the next evolution, where we are going. We are headed in that direction, and the votes towards Donald Trump and having, let's say, Robert F. Kennedy leading the FDA, and he's a big change to what we currently have as the health director in America, which is it's a huge relief to think, you have somebody who is kind of anti-establishment, who's going to be working towards, fighting the big guys like Monsanto, that have been waging a war against farmers truly, and against the planet, against our earth, enforcing these, kind of seeds, Frankenstein seeds on farmers, and really taking away from the organic farmers and suing them and putting them out of business. So that type of bureaucracy has protected companies that are really damaging to our environment, to us, to farmers. Glyphosate being Roundup, which is the poison we spray on the corn and the soybeans and the wheat and the canola and all of those GMO crops that we have to spray. And a lot of the spray, sometimes it's just as a drying agent. You need to, half the time are just using the Roundup. It's a desiccant. It's supposed to dry. It's supposed to use it to dry the plant also, not just as a protection agent to protect against pests, but it's strictly to fight specific things. Like in corn, it's the corn rootworm or the corn bollworm they're spraying to kill a larval stage worm. And by doing that, by spraying those chemicals, well, the farmers are getting sick. They're all, incredibly sick. And then not only that, it's always usually kind of underpaid temporary foreign workers doing all the spraying. And then even the poor farmers that are poorer, they don't have the large equipment and they're still spraying, but they have to meet quotas and they have to, it's just a really awful system that kind of, I'm saying that it's awful. It's feeding a lot of people, but, Canadians, we subsidize this. And that has to do a lot with the politics and the people who are in charge. Because at the end of the day, if we're entrusting that our government's going to do the right thing, then it would be subsidizing food production. And instead, we're subsidizing the poisoning of our people. And that's crazy, right? That contrast that we didn't even have 100 years ago before all the chemicals came into the picture. So it's really a big topic here. So let's roll into the politics side of it. Donald Trump, he's in the office. RFK is coming on board and Joel Salatin is coming on board. That's crazy. That's huge news, right?
Yep. And Joe Salatin coming on board is massive. And I think what people don't realize is that the current systems of government have been allowing and continuing without any change Monsanto and these big companies that are literally, and only in North America we're seeing this primarily, is the North American companies and the chemical companies, obviously Bayer being one, originating in Germany. But what we're seeing is these companies that are promoting all of the regular crops that were supposed to be the sustainable foundational crops in the Industrial Revolution, but now are just being subsidized with this kind of chemical cycle that farmers that are enslaving farmers in a chemical cycle and enslaving them in a economic nightmare because they can never get out of it. They have to buy the seeds, they have to buy the chemicals, they have to follow the rules, and if they don't, they're going to go under. And then you have the government subsidizing these crops that would not make money and are not even making money with the subsidies. So it's kind of boggles your mind that the government, our tax dollars, are supporting these GMO, these genetically modified crops that are getting sprayed into our communities that are harming our Canadian people. And we could just subsidize another system and create another. We always talk about this in environmental management. What comes before? There's the three entities of people. Is it the politicians that drive the change? Is it the populace that drive the change? Or is it the companies and corporations that drive change? And it always is like we need all three of them to act conjunctively, of course, but it stops with one not supporting the other. And then at one point, as consumers, when we choose organic or regeneration labels, there's not as many regenerative labels, but certainly organic is like regeneration, light. It's the lightest form.
Well, and that's the thing, that's the future of marketing, right? Marketing has the capacity to teach people at a really fast rate, but now it's using the marketing in everyday products, right?
Yeah.
Generative agriculture stamps are going to be all over meat,
So important.
all over food. And the only way to food sovereignty is to actually create those regenerative agriculture systems. So, and now with us having, let's say, RFK and Joel Salatin, who is a regenerative agriculturist, great farmer, one of my bigger inspirations in farming, who got me, considering it completely. He's doing incredible work. And if we can mass scale that into our education systems, we're able to then, on the works of all these incredible regenerative agriculturists, Greg Judy, Bill Mollison, Nicole Masters, incredible farmers doing the most important work, the biomimicry work, the regenerative ag work. That's
so important.
Yeah, because we've changed the way we do things. For a long time, we've grown corn and soybean. We replaced silage-based grass and alfalfa and the silage crops that we relied on to feed these animals and what they prefer to eat. Actually, it's their natural diet.
What are these silage crops, for instance?
Well, I mean, in any case, it's not. It's more so just pastures. Like these pastures are naturalized, and they end up with all the native grasses required. You're 18, 20, 30 different types of grasses that are around and available. And cows know. They know what they eat. They know what nutrients they're requiring, because every plant is going to have a different nutrient component. They, whatever a plant is abundant in, whatever elemental, force it has, if it's going to be high in a specific trait, the cows just know. And the more they're pastoralized, they learn what is good for them. And then they pass that on even to their youth. Before calving was a thing, the calves used to stay with the moms long enough. In regenerative agriculture, the calves will stay with the mother long enough so it learns how to graze. You need to teach the youth how to graze. And then now you have like a herd mentality. Your herds become teachers. The moms are the teachers of the babies, just like in life, right? We teach, but if we're not a proponent of it, if we're not actively investing in regenerative agriculture and subsidizing cattle farming, we're doing the opposite. We're putting more red tape against it. We're saying cows are bad for the environment. Cancel the cows. Cancel the farmers that are doing cows, but corn and soy is fine for it's not fine for biofuel, because we already proved that biofuel is not, it's not the superior thing, right? George Bush was a huge let's go biofuels, and we never stopped. And then that political gravy train continued. Monsanto and the lobbyists keep feeding the government. So that power, that bureaucracy, that is going to change, because I think Donald Trump is anti-establishment at the highest level, and they attempted to kill him twice. So now he knows how corrupt the system is. RFK has been attacked for a long time. They're really he's choosing people to come into the positions where it's going to make a forcible change, because that's what we need. Because the rest of the world is kind of moving in a direction of, we need to protect our country as a sovereign nation. We need to have sovereignty. And because America's been building and building so fast and is the largest economy in the world, they've kind of left some areas behind. Like agriculture has been taken over entirely by corn and soybean as the biggest farming industry we have. Cotton is not even, we have corn and soy, wheat, canola. We're growing all this rapeseed and all of these omega-6 oils. We're growing for plant-based foods, which are actually, we know now, are not good for us to eat any ultra-processed plant-based foods. And I'm saying that here, and this is easily found. The omega-6s in these seed oils are just detrimental to your health. So it's really important that we've put our tax dollars where they belong. And I think everyone's waking up to that. These politicians they've spent our money in a very bad way. And now the people are saying, no, this is not acceptable. No, we're not accepting this anymore. No, stop spending the money, because we're sending it all over the place for different wars, and we're sending it all over the place for aid to other countries. We're sending it to NATO. We're sending it to the United Nations. We're funding everybody. We're protecting everybody, in America specifically, right? That's what Donald Trump's kind of rhetoric is all about. And even Canada, right? Canada hasn't paid America its fair share. And we've been reliant on that little, situation that's been kind of happening. But when we start paying the true cost of what we should be paying, because we need to protect the relationship we have with America, we can join forces with them in a stronger way, and they would help bolster our economy. But right now, if those politicians are not agreeing, like the current liberal government is certainly not going to agree with the Donald Trump government, and Donald Trump is going to give us a tariff that we're not going to be able to handle. we won't be able to handle it. It'll decimate our economy, especially here in Ontario, in our province. It's going to hit us the hardest. So, with that said, we need to kind of be an actor that is going to work with the largest economy in the world so we can actually have change as a continent, right? China's been growing for a long time. It's a massive economy, and they're working on these incredible agriculture projects, incredible regreening the desert projects. They're way ahead on the fronts of, regreening their desertifying land, where America is so behind. And that's a huge political dilemma because of all the bureaucracy that's involved. If we cared about the climate change and we care so much about global warming, well, we've messed up the water cycle. And that water cycle is very kind of intertwined with climate change. And if everything is becoming a desert, well, you're going to have more flash flooding. You're going to have more rain events. If the ground is eroded from tillage, that's basically a desert. Our corn and soy fields are tilled so heavily and sprayed so heavily that nothing lives there. Everything's dead. The corn and the soy is the only thing that can live there. And so if that's the case, you have corn and soybean that's growing there, that's fine for biofuel and for cattle feed, and they feed every animal the same thing. But now you have these politicians that are being paid by these companies. So it makes sense why the Liberals are still in power. It's, a really, really powerful position. And so that's why, I think with an incoming government, with a Donald Trump government, that'll spark some interest in a more conservative government here. That's going to protect farmers. And it's going to protect fossil fuels. It's going to protect what our economy is really, really strong in. We have Alberta that's a powerhouse. We should be able to build a refinery here. We should be able to do all of the things that we require. And if we're not going to build a refinery, we need to have a really strong relationship with America because they refine our oil for us. And we need that oil in order to transition into a sustainable, greener economy. We need the fossil fuels for the time being. And you can raise all the red flags, but we're already in the system. We're already locked and loaded. Everybody wants to drive. Everybody wants to take a vacation. Everybody wants to use fossil fuels. But we don't want to be responsible for what that even means. Buying our t-shirts, buying our pants,
polyester,
everything is involved in some way or form or the other with petrol. All plastics, right? Glasses, shoes, any synthetic latexes, and now you're wearing a lot of clothing is it's pretty much fossil fuel based, petrochemical based, right? A lot of polyester,
which is wild.
Rayon, all these other things that are in clothes now that you're like spandex, and you wonder, they're doing tests now. They're like super carcinogenic. Lululemon being like one of the most carcinogenic. The pad just in the kind of area for women, it's incredibly carcinogenic.
Oh, and that's from the spandex.
They did a test on and I'm sure people have seen this. Like it's crazy. Lululemon, massive company, right? It just came out, big study. They're testing the fibers in these pants. And specifically in the crotch area, they have like a special pad of some kind. And that pad specifically has the most carcinogenic effect. So like leggings, spandex, women shouldn't even wear those. It's an endocrine disruptor. It's bad for your immune system. It gets right into your lymph nodes. This is a very sensitive area.
Yes, yeah.
And so, and these spandex and clothing, we need to wear cotton, we need to wear linen, we need to wear bamboo, we need to wear anything from the earth. That is going to give us frequency.
Yeah.
If you're wearing this kind of, these kind of monoculture grown cotton, synthetic cottons, and these really bad, it's the same with agriculture. If your clothing production is based on agriculture as well.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's toxic, then guess what? It's still toxic to us. Just like the food has no nutrients in it, the clothes is going to be toxic to us.
And I was just ironing the other day, and I took a soccer coaching shirt from our soccer academy that was totally polyester. I put an iron to it, and it melted the shirt.
Oh my God.
Just melted into hot plastic. And I just smelled hot plastic.
Wow.
In all my condo, and the shirt was gone. And my ironing board was black. My iron was black. And I was like, this shirt I've worn many times. I've worn that shirt like 50 times.
Wow.
And that's what was on my skin. This stuff that as soon as heat went onto it, it just melted.
And you're sweating in it all day.
Yeah.
So it's going into your...
And I'm in hot heat in the summer.
Yeah.
With this shirt. So I think these are the kind of things where if we're looking at an abundance mentality, what is abundance? The abundance is having clothes to wear. What is sustainable abundance is having clothes that you can wear that are regenerative, good for the soils to produce, and then good for our bodies to wear.
Totally.
And that's the same conversation, like you just said, with the food. Is it good for our soils to produce, and is it good for our bodies to ingest? And I think that's the whole mission that we're on with the sustainable abundance, is like, can we make the political changes needed? Can we make the individual choices needed? And then can the governments support both the corporations? Can they actually subsidize corporations who are doing these sustainably abundant things, or are they supporting corporations that are driving the foundation? What is the foundation of all corporations and governments and humans? Is the earth.
Yep.
You lose the earth and everything it gives us, then we have
nothing.
Nothing.
That's it, right? We're looking at, I think that what you're saying here is, are the governments willing to change? But I think that it's inevitable.
It has to
We're
be,
seeing like Donald Trump getting elected. It's inevitable because people want the change. And even in Canada, we're going to see, I believe, for even the polls are saying it's a 99% win for Pierre, for the Conservative government. And I think that Pierre's got the best platform out of all of the candidates.
Yeah.
Really, that's just my own political belief. You know, I voted Liberal for a while. My parents are refugees. They voted for a while Liberal, but we're Latino. We've switched our minds on a lot of things. And it's based on, how immigration has been handled, certainly.
Yeah.
Both of my parents are immigrants and refugees at that. And then, of course, how, now that I'm a small farmer and I have this farm, I'm seeing that nobody's willing to help farmers. In the last 9 years, we haven't seen farmer help. Instead, we've seen more farms close down at the highest rate. Nobody wants to do farming. Nobody's interested in farming. The youth don't care about farms. The youth don't care they care a lot about eating. Everybody cares a lot about eating, but nobody really cares about farms. And everybody's really tossed up in the whole, slavery is a bad thing. But we enslave people all over the world, and then we force them to create these monoculture farms in their countries.
Yeah.
And then we're toxifying other countries for our own demand, because we want bananas, because we want Argentinian strawberries in December, because we, and this crazy impossible system, which is impossible. 100 years ago, we're shipping a vegetable or fruit from South America, from Argentina, from my dad's country. I've seen Argentinian blueberries from Peru. Why are we ordering blueberries from Peru? And when you think about that as intellectually or even just physically, it came on a boat or on an airplane so that you can have it on your table. That is the highest level of privilege you could imagine. But we've enslaved somebody so that they can grow that for us, and we're paying them less than $1 a day. And most diets are guilty of that, because the system is just like a big machine it's just a machine that has no feelings, no emotions, right? It's just a machine, right? At the end of the day, it's an economy, and it's a commerce, capitalistic system for sure. But there should be checks and balances and sustainability at the highest level, but being realistic with that outcome is more important.
Yeah.
And when we can grow the majority of a lot of those fruits and vegetables here, instead of investing in other countries, again, we're investing in other countries poorly, because we're enslaving these people in other countries to farm for.
Yeah, they're not benefiting. We're not benefiting.
No.
The cycle of energy production and usage is very inefficient, because now we're spending more time, energy, money to transport everything back.
That's right.
Where if we just reinvested that into our country's ability to produce the produce, then we would be much better off.
Instead, our government would rather tax us even further, a further carbon tax. So you're going to tax the industry that we're most abundant in. Our abundance is in oil. We have an incredible amount of oil in Canada. I don't know that everybody doesn't know that already, but it's our major export here in Canada. And we are taxing it. We're taxing what we sell the most of, when we should really be saying, no, let's take what we make the most of. Let's focus a lot of energy on that, and let's create energy independence. Let's have energy independence, because energy is everything for us. And it's not just to say that we need Alberta tar sands, but we need it for fuel, we need it for driving, but we need nuclear. We need to invest in nuclear, not divest. What we're doing is shutting down nuclear power plants to create this green energy revolution. But that's the only way to the green revolution and to true sustainability is through nuclear fusion.
Yeah.
Or nuclear fission right now, what we current model.
Our current fission.
But our future of nuclear fusion is the way to go, because that's the most abundant.
It's just ultimate abundance.
Ultimate abundance. And that's where I think that's the future. That's our future. But in the now, before we get to energy independence as a species, we need to work on collaboration. The government needs to collaborate with farmers, not take away from them, and not allow for these massive lobbying companies to basically decimate our farming industry. When we can grow all of the food here, we should certainly be considering not creating a carbon tax that taxes the farmers. Those farmers then are in big trouble because they're going to have to hike up their product. If they hike their product, guess who's not going to buy it anymore? All of their customers are going to say, I can't buy because I'm also crippled by the same carbon tax that you are. My gas at the pumps is way more money. I can't afford the $10 carrots that used to be $5. I cannot afford those carrots, Mr. Farmer. So thank you very much. That's how you destroy the current organic system that we have.
And really, we can't remove the inertia of the system is running. We need the energy now to create more abundance.
Yes.
It's like the same metaphor. If people are finding it hard to follow, it'd be the metaphor of, well, I want to invest in something that's going to make my life so much better. Let's say education, right? But right now I'm working a job that I don't like, but it's the same thing as saying like, I'm going to quit working altogether. Then you have zero money and you can't even invest in your education to change your own system of improvement. So now we can't do that if we stopped all fossil fuels, the world would be just dead, right? Because I love renewable energy. I love wind energy, solar energy. It's what I studied in environmental studies. And for my heart, I love those energies. Right now, we don't have the capability to store them. The technology is not there.
And you can't divorce fossil fuels from those industries.
No.
Because in order to even set up a windmill, you need trucks to even move those windmills. Those massive windmills, they can't even be recycled, right? So we're having now solar panels can't be recycled. We can't fully recycle solar panels. We can't fully recycle windmills. We can't fully recycle wind turbines or wave turbines, which are now underwater. And there's we're not measuring the consequences. Everything has an opportunity cost. Everything has a consequence attached to it. Windmills kill birds, right? You cannot divorce killing migratory birds with windmills. You cannot. Just like you cannot divorce whales being killed by wave turbines underwater, what they're now practicing with out in, Scandinavian seas, and they're doing wave turbines, which is like brilliant. Oh my gosh, it's such a brilliant thing. But we're really good at creating solutions, but are we good at asking real questions?
Yeah. And the model of solutions that we need to find, just like we're finding in agriculture, regenerative agriculture, is the solution going to be good for the entire system?
And it's scalable.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to talk about. Scale. We are going to talk about scaling. And of course, we have a lot to discuss. We have a lot of episodes ahead of us. In detail, we're going to be teaching everybody how we can take us to a scalable perspective where we are teaching you how to scale even in your own backyard food system that will feed you and your families during times of drought, during times of famine, or even just a pandemic like COVID. That was a huge eye-opener for all of us, and how the government acted and how we've basically put our country into debt in a high level of inflation. We're carbon taxing our citizens. Life is at the most expensive it's ever been in Canada. Our dollar's plummeting because of how much inflation is and how much money printing we have had in the last 10 years of liberal government and governance. And they've done a really bad job. And now they're going to be held accountable. They will be the next government in power. And we're forcing a right switch. And that's natural. Isn't that natural? Every country that's gone too far left and they've radicalized on really socialist Marxist values is now, those governments are starting to sway into the center and going to the right? To the point where even in Argentina, it was a super socialist country, derived of fascism, now is the first conservative libertarian country president in the world. There's no other libertarian conservative in the world as a president. First, he has no cabinet. He had nobody. Wow. He has no party. Lone warrior.
That's the lone warrior president. I didn't even know about this. Wow.
And that's what I mean, right? And that we're going to start having that because people want change. They're desperate. 1 in 10 Argentinians has money. The other 9 are poor, right? Do we want a socialist economy in Canada? I don't think so. We've tried it. We've tried it. We've tried it. Capitalism works. We need to get to a perfect capitalism. And truly it's an imperfect capitalism. And what we get with that is understanding that we can't reach perfection, but that we have all the tools. We have AI, we have tools, we have our brains. Now we have look at what we're doing here. We have all the capacity to scale this. And so here we're going to be discussing some of those items. Now, what do you think now? RFK, he's coming on board. He's going to be the health director in America. We have Joel Salatin, regenerative agriculturist. He's going to be in charge of the FDA, the USDA, which is our stamp for
US Drug Administration.
The U.S. Drug Administration, who is in charge of USDA Organics, right? So USDA Organic being the entity that's growing organics, and they're allowing for sprays and pesticides as well, or these organic crops. So I think that's important that we have farmers coming on board to the bureaucrats and saying these are the systems we need to implement. So yeah, I think that's really beautiful.
It's really beautiful, and it's a beautiful change because something has to change from the current system that we have. And I think even regardless of people's political preferences, I think you have to look at the objective realities rather than this person, this candidate, this person. Like, what is the objective reality of what has been happening and what moves are being made to switch that from the current negatives that we have and switch it to a more sustainable abundance culture, right? And I think putting Joe Salatin in that position for me was a big surprise, something that came as a welcome surprise.
Seriously,
yeah,
like in due time, because we should be desperate for an evolution in our farming practices. We've been doing, and we're going to show a little clip here of Greg Judy. He's an excellent farmer, and he's been doing incredible regenerative agriculture work. But our government has allowed for us to till the soil to no end, to the point where we're basically creating a tile. We're creating a hard pan tile on all of our corn and soy fields that we're subsidizing. We pay the price. Taxpayers are paying. You need to know this, taxpayers. In Canada and America, you pay to subsidize the mass tillage of all of our fields. And what we're doing is we're creating a tile, a hard pan, and water cannot infiltrate that hard pan, and it runs off into our rivers, into our waterways, end up in the Gulf of Mexico. And so we got to put the spotlight on these things, and we got to show everybody. Everybody needs to understand that, we're now in a position to, revolutionize farming, and we have no choice. This is a no choice kind of thing. So we got to wake up here and really hear the messaging. And you look at this guy, he's in his, so that's it. And that's just one example. Just right there, we have Greg Judy, right? Legend farmer. You can hear the pain in his voice.
Yes. I mean, just the fact that people are not realizing, that's the exciting thing, is that now we have the information at our fingertips that we're not guessing anymore. We're not have to do a rain dance, right? We actually can measure that healthy soils and the vegetation actually have the atmospheric reaction to attract more soils, more rain. And then those soils actually have the potential to not only attract the rain, but to carry it, to hold the rain,
water,
that it just
just
doesn't run off.
And it infiltrates and it fills up our aquifers underneath us, right? And then once we are able to capture the rain, we can control the flash flooding. We can control these massive flood.
Costa Rica, massive flooding right now.
If we don't cover the earth, we're not going to capture the water.
The U.S. had massive flooding.
Yeah.
Europe, massive flooding.
Well, Justin Rhodes, one of my, great mentors. I follow Abundance Plus, which is a great resource for farmers, for young farmers, permaculturists. Abundance Plus, shout out to you, Justin Rhodes, and your family. We're sending you a lot of love and blessings to you and your family. They just got their farm and homestead got decimated by that big flood in North Carolina. And it's those types of events, and they're up in a hillside. They're like in a way high, above sea level. They weren't expecting a flood to hit them, right? Water
Unbelievable.
Is uncontrollable. Water does what it wants to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if just north of them, these massive basically dust bowls. They're basically like massive tillage operations, and they're just tilling the hell out of everything. And that just leads to these hard pan tile fields. We're creating
what is a hard pan tile field.
Yeah.
I don't know about these.
Well, the more you compact your fields by running your tractors on them, we never had this level of compaction. And most people don't understand compaction. But when you compact your soil, nothing can grow.
Pressing the soil down and through heaviness.
Heaviness will it's like anything. When you compact the soil has a structure. And so soil has microaggregation, macroaggregation. Over time, you get a fluffy topsoil in the top 6 inches. We have the horizontal levels of soil. And so the A horizon,
those little cuts and layers. Yeah.
Exactly. The A horizon is our first horizon, right? So we have the first layer, which is our topsoil. That's what we grow our food in. 6 inches is all we need. But they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 6 inches, we can now know that our A horizon can expand. We can go 4,000 feet down. But we have compacted our soil so poorly. We've done such a good job actually at compacting our fields through tillage and heavy tractors, rolling around, tilling, not just tilling, but harvesting, doing every single component, every single process is compacting the soil, creating more pressure, more PSI into the soil. By the time you take a penetrometer, which is a great tool, it teaches you your PSI and your compaction rate. Most compacted fields will have a higher compaction, more than 150 PSI. Plants cannot grow in more than 150 PSI. The only plants that are going to grow are compaction breaking plants like the thistles, the invasives, all of the ones that we call invasive species, noxious invasive species. They have tap roots. They're the ones that break the soil. They're the ones that break through the soil. And actually what the soil really requires is calcium, right? At that point, you need a huge injection of calcium. And those plants, guess what they're rich in? Calcium. They're naturally finding a way into these highly compacted fields to give the field the air. They're trying to compact. Mother Nature has the answers. So it sends all of the thistles. It sends all of those tap-rooted weeds that we call weeds, the mustards, all of these, actually they're indicators or they're going to tell you what they're doing, what their job is. Each plant has a function. So those massive compaction layers, they're way, way compact. Some fields will have like 400 PSI. Well, of course, you only have thistle.
That's the only thing that can grow there.
That's right. Because it's trying to do its job. What's its job? To decompact the soil. But it's going to take forever at that point because now it's a desert. You have a desertified, effectively, your land, which that hard pan, it literally, you can see soil on top, but the hard pan is in the bottom layer. It's just underneath the A horizon. So you have a new horizontal growth of organic matter, the fall, all of the fall down, the leaves. That creates a little bit of humus, but really that hard pan is in the bottom layer. So every time it rains, you have infiltration, and even you can't see it. It's not visible to the naked eye. If you have grass growing, but you still have a compacted field. So there's a lot to understand when it comes to water infiltration and how water moves. But that hard pan is going to flush our topsoil, like what Greg Judy's saying, into the Gulf of Mexico, because all the water is running south from America, where all of our water is running south, and all the water is connected. So when you do testing on the shorelines, you say, oh, how it's so nutrient rich, right? And these massive floods, they take everything with them. So this is where our work is really focused on getting everyone exposed to regenerative agriculture methods and getting regreening the desert projects on the focus. And that's where, I wanted to show you a few kind of elements to what China and a few other countries are doing in the world to help those hard pan deserts, to help, regeneration of deserts. It's possible. What is possible is we know now with the tools in the hands and the bodies and the people that we can regenerate deserts. So
that is really, really exciting. And these are the kind of messages that we want to share because it's not doom and gloom. We have the technology, we have the understanding, we have the science behind it. And I think these clips that we're about to show right now, I show in some of my courses on regenerative agriculture and organic when I do them at the Holistic School of Natural Nutrition, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And it really changes your perspective. And you're saying there's deserts. We just assume that deserts have been there all the time, and we assume that they will continue to be there.
And grow, in fact. And grow. Oh, that's just natural. They just keep growing.
Yeah. So what? We're just going to end up with a full desert as a planet?
Mars,
essentially. And what we realize now is that we don't need to settle for that. We have not only settled, but they weren't there in the beginning. Some of them, and a large portion of them, were man-made. And there was fertile soil there, like the fertile soils we have now. And furthermore, we can reverse those. We can reverse desertification. Just like now with holistic medicine and a holistic understanding of our bodies, we can reverse a lot of these diseases that we thought were just a death sentence, or diseases that we thought were long-term diseases that were genetic, that came out of nowhere. Now we're understanding it's because of long-term actions that we're taking in our body, and we can absolutely reverse them. You can reverse cancers. You can reverse all of these things like type 2 diabetes, right? Type 2 diabetes, you're going to have that for the rest of your life. No, right? So what we're finding and what the really exciting link is that not only our bodies are linked with the planet, and all of these trends that are happening with our body and with the planet are all stemming from that one piece. Can we get to regenerative agriculture? And that will solve both things at once.
Yeah, it's super elemental. It's so cool that it's just so elemental. When I say that, it's like kind of like the movie Elemental, right? You think that it's like we are so connected to Earth. We're all about regenerating our bodies, but also regenerating soil and making compost. But we've found a lot of what the compost requires, our stomachs and our gut biome, our microbiomes require as well. The same relationships, the same connections, the magnesium and calcium ratios have to be right in our bodies in order for us to absorb the nutrients properly, right? And then there's a lot of things that are kind of protagonists in taking those capacities away from. I just found out caffeine, it really messes with our magnesium and calcium, and how we can intake those. And we need to make sure that ratio is right. Well, guess what? In bare fields, we're finding that, compost, which is rich in calcium, if you cover fields with calcium rich compost, well, guess what happens? We're able to start breaking through those hard pans. We're able to start regenerating the soil. We're able to start putting more biology, more life into the soil. And then that gives us an opportunity to grow multiple, like we're talking 18, 20, 30 different plants of seed, different types of seeds, wild grasses, perennial, silage crops of what you were asking a little bit earlier, alfalfa, hairy vetch, sorghum, Sudan grass, Indian grass. We're talking about all kinds of different grasses here, perennial ryegrasses to all different kinds of grasses that are going to help to get those native populations back. Every area has a native seed bank of whatever grasses are growing in the area. We just have to naturalize everything. And then we as humans have to put an effort so that the seed bank in the air is not only invasives. Right now we have nature fighting back. In the fields where it's just super bare, wasted desert land, we have goldenrod, we have we have really invasive species, but they're not. They're actually helping the soil. Any root cover, any ground cover is better than no ground cover. Doesn't matter what anybody says to you. So that's the key here, is just we have the opportunity now to regenerate everything. So anyway, well, I think we should definitely hit up some of these videos where we can just show you a little bit about what China is doing. China is doing incredible work, by the way, and kudos to them. In Africa, so they're also doing incredible work. But this is strictly in the Gobi Desert, so I think really important. Wow, incredible! That's just wow, that's just like ryegrass. It's the bees start coming back. Insects are coming back. Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, and now let's see. There's a couple of videos here. We have what they're doing in Africa work here.
Let's see here. This is the Africa one. Wow. Incredible. The Great Green Wall. I think that's really inspiring. It's like, it makes you want to go to battle. Like, the Great Green Wall stopped the Sahara's expansion southward, and just to look at what we have acknowledged in terms of abundance is peace, and where humans cannot get their own food, their own water, and your own shelter, you cannot have peace. That's going to be unsettled humans that just need to do something to fight to get something for themselves. It makes people really desperate. It makes them very prone to conflict. And where we see the desertification across the globe is where we see, in the most desertified land masses, is where you see the most regional conflict.
Totally.
Which is, if people are wishing, everyone's wishing for world peace, why don't we give humans, every single human being, what they need: food, water, regenerative food and water that sustains them, and land that sustains them. You're going to have a very peaceful populace worldwide if everyone has.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think they're proving that, there's two completely different ways to do this kind of work. You see two different methods.
Two different methods here, yeah.
Entirely different methods. And this is the Gobi Desert in China, Africa. They're doing these half moons
in the Sahara,
and it's brilliant work, of course. But that comes to show you, America has something on its hands similar to this, where they're on the similar continental, equatorial line, or their coordinates are similar to China's, right? Where they're located, you'll see the same areas that are desertifying in China are desertifying in America. It's crazy to think about it.
That's incredible.
And we have parts in BC right now that are desertifying, right, at a really fast rate. And that's where I think we need to focus our energy here.
And then we have this third video here.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack right there. Like, those guys just actually, sorry, Alex, maybe you can help me out here.
There you go, yeah.
They literally just said how a herbivore turned into an omnivore. The last comment that he made, I touched on another whole thing, which is, feedlot cows. We're feeding feedlot cows corn and soybean, first of all. We're feedlotting them, which is not normal, which is absolutely unthinkable at the highest level. We should never have done that. That's when we crossed the barrier of let's grow corn and soy and let's stop running cows in pasture land, eating, grazing the things they need to be, and let's turn them into sick cows and then feed the human population. But what he said about the omnivores, that's really key. And I don't know how many people know this, but we are actually feeding industrial feedlot cows fish pellets. So if you don't know that by now cows, unfortunately, in their mix of their yearly mix, if there's a food shortage, they're fed fish pellets. And some farmers just feed them that because it's much cheaper and it's allowed. So that's completely against biology, completely against what a cow should be eating. And then contributing to, the manure is not going to be good for anyone. It's going to be a sick animal producing very bad manure.
Bad manure. You can't even use that to fertilize anything.
Oh, it's going to be riddled with antibiotics. It'll have all of its incredible vaccine packages that they have for animals, and we have a pharmaceutical complex industry that is basically administering 80% of its pharmaceuticals to industrial feedlot animals. 80%. I don't know what the figure is, but we're talking billions here.
And it's creating the potential for antibiotic resistant superbugs. And they're feeding those antibiotics to actually make them fatter. And that goes back to the body and human systems with farming, is that if we have antibiotics and kill our microbiome, we get fatter and we get super unhealthy.
Well, they're also feeding them basically corn and soybean.
And corn and soy, which is also
sugar,
causing obesity epidemic in human beings.
That's right. It's all linked. And the processed foods all have the soybean, the high fructose corn syrups.
And just like cows shouldn't be eating fish, we are not designed to be eating processed foods, because humans do not eat processed foods.
No.
Do cows eat meat? No. Then humans do not eat processed foods.
Well, that's kind of it, right? We're kind of in like this is cognitive dissonance at the highest level, right? So we know with our brain that what we should be eating is whole foods. But somehow the government has made it legal for companies to make food-like substances that are actually detrimental to our health. But because of capitalism and free markets, if I decide to make a poisonous food and you decide to buy it, so long as it has a UPC code, a universal product code on it that can scan at a grocery store, it's legal game because you've paid for bureaucracy. But if I'm a farmer, like this is a famous line from Joel Salatin, and I love him for this. If I wanted to sell you, Alex, a dozen of eggs for $2, okay, the market right now, it's crazy. It's $10 sometimes.
Yeah.
If you can put it on the side of the road, it's $7 at a farm. But me as a farmer, if I have chickens in my backyard, I have 100 chickens that are laying an incredible amount of eggs. I want to sell Alex a dozen of eggs because he's my friend. I'm selling them for $5. I'm going to sell them to him for $2. Guess what? I can't sell them for $5 and I can't sell them for $2. I can gift them to you. I can gift them away. But as soon as I put a price tag on them, I'm no longer a farmer, but I'm a criminal. But how do those massive corporations get ahead and get away with poisoning us vividly with our own eyes is because of this true cognitive dissonance. We know it's poison. We know it's bad. Everybody knows a muffin is bad for you. the sweets are bad for you, the sugar's bad for you. Everybody seems to know that, but it's because it's available. If it's not out of sight, it's going to be in your mind. And you can see that in all the grocery shelves. Shelby and I don't even, my partner, I don't even travel through the middle of the stores. We just go around
around
the produce.
You're in the meat, you're in the yogurts, and then you're in the fresh vegetable sections.
That's right.
That's it.
Because
And everything in the middle is processed.
That's right.
Canned, processed. I mean, canned is not the worst when we're talking about processing. Canned is another section on its own, which is not inherently as terrible as these crazy processed foods. However,
so there's
it's
a challenge in
nutrient.
what comes out of a can is also going to be linked to a farm somewhere.
Yeah, and it's nutrient deficient. If you talk about canned vegetables, it's going to be very nutrient deficient.
I mean, with that said, it's what we have. The system we have is, we need to be grateful. There's some gratitude to show here.
Always gratitude.
We have to be saying, look, we've gotten up to this point with what we have. It's brilliant. We can feed ourselves. We can, at any time, you don't need to know how to fish. You go to the store and you can buy a huge fish. You can buy canned sardines,
fillets, whatever you want.
You don't need to know how to fish anymore. So that level of convenience has made it so simple. And we should be grateful that convenience exists. But at the cost of ignorance and cognitive dissonance, I don't think it's worth it. And so, you can, and with that, right, now you have bad actors playing in the field of food for profit, not for health. And it's legal game. It's illegal for companies to do that, where I think it should be a borderline criminal to poison people through knowing that your products are poisonous, are bad for you, can literally add carcinogenic effect into your body, carcinogenic cells that are attacking your T cells, attacking your body, and literally making you sick, making you allergic, making you toxic, making you filled with parasites. And we're feeding disease in our body by continuously consuming these ultra-processed foods, and the government allows it. Cancer rates are spiking, hard at the top 3 killers: diabetes, obesity-linked diabetes, heart attacks, and cancer. Top 3 killers, right? And so now we've reached a time, I think that now is the time where actually it's medical malpractice and people just becoming so unhealthy that is killing more people than anything else. Diet related.
Yeah, and completely in our control. And it's just, you see this at the biggest levels where you see, like, I went to Mexico, for example, and there's just, their Coke is being sold in the tub. Like, they have bottles that are far greater than we even see. And you go 3 liters.
Yeah.
And you go to the US and you see that on double the scale that we see in Canada. And in already Canada is the problem where you're getting sold all of these things. And the marketing, just like the queen of marketing, queen of capitalism, if you're looking at a chess piece, marketing is the queen. And that's why we're doing this. This is why the more information people get and the more they're marketed the right choices to make, the more simple it is. And even if you know the right choices, we need to be marketing just as much as the wrong choices, because it's about keeping it top of mind for yourself, keeps it top of mind, and keeps you making the right choices. We always want to be conscious individuals. If you're not conscious, you're not consciously choosing your thoughts and thought processes, then you're going to have another corporation that is making good marketing that's going to say, like, look, polar bear is drinking Coke.
Polar bear, that whole incredible marketing thing is great for profit. But I think it's about doing the right thing. And that's where people are changing their minds. They're beating through the cognitive dissonance. They're fighting, especially people like us. We're stewards. We're wanting to spread the message. That's why we're here. We're here to tell you all that there is a way. There is a way for us to not only regreen deserts, but create food sovereignty in this country alone, Canada alone. Our mission is nationwide. We're going to protect Canadian food sovereignty in the best of our capacity, growing nutrient-dense food on our farm and teaching all of you specifically how to do that through our YouTube channel, through all of our efforts, through our courses, through everything that we do, all of our collaborations on our podcast. We're going to be having incredible guests on our podcast as well. So something to consider when you're looking for the way of our future agricultural systems. You should definitely follow what we're doing, because we're going to be exposing you to all of the truths, all of the facts behind how we're going to get us ahead as a civilization, as a nation. And we are a regenerative nation. We are Regeneration Nation. That's the whole purpose of our podcast, is to teach you all that there is hope. This is a podcast not just about farming, but it is about hope in a better future for our families, for our lives, and for our great friends, for our relationships, and for human connection. This is a big effort, and we have no choice. Our world depends on us to really come together in community, starting community garden efforts, starting market garden efforts, subsidizing young farmers, giving them incentive to start their operations, their young, small farming operations. And it's possible. We have the tools, we have the know-how, we have the books. I actually want to give a little shout out here to a few of our incredible regenerators and incredible farmers doing amazing work. Here's one of our highly recommend this book here by Nicole Masters, For the Love of Soil. It's an incredible book, incredible journey of hers into regenerative agriculture. And I think that any new farmer would benefit from understanding regenerative agriculture through her lens of understanding. But then this is just a starter pack of a couple books here. My second book that I'm going to offer a small recognition on is Daniel May's
No-till.
The No-Till Organic Vegetable Farm. This is the model that we took at our farm, Green Acres, and we think it's an incredible model here. We love their work. This is a Elliot Coleman inspired farmer, and he's one of my inspirations as well. Elliot Coleman, incredible work, and I think that that's the way of the future, is through knowledge and education. And with these types of tools, these books, they're right in our fingertips. And then we have all these incredible tools on the internet of things that, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have all of these connective, symbiotic community networks, and we have to leverage the power of social media to do it.
Yes. And it's never been a better time to do social media because it's free. And as Gary Vaynerchuk says, you'll look back on this and say, wow, there was never a better time where something was free to be able to share your message for free. We see it in music. Instead of going through these major corporations, you have the possibility and the power to give that away and to share your music and earn money from it instantly, right? And so I think the key is putting the power, sharing hope, putting the power back in our hands. For every person that can grow beautiful crops, beautiful food on their land, create an amazing eco paradise. And as we show in the next podcast and beyond, we're going to be showing not only these examples with the videos we showed today, but creating farms that are actual ecosystems in themselves, which is incredible. Like we can create, never mind nature reserves and then farms. We can actually make our farm into a nature reserve, which is amazing. Like there's How I Fell in Love with a Fish by Dan Barber on TED Talks. We'll maybe include a link on that here too, but he was a chef and he's like, this is the best fish I've ever tasted in my entire life. And it's from a fish farm in Spain, which was a cattle farm, which they regenerated all the soil, all the waters. Flamingos started coming from hundreds of kilometers away. They were created an ecosystem. And then as a side, the food that was produced there, like the fish, was just the tastiest food.
Healthiest.
And the healthiest, that this chef, his mind was absolutely blown. It was even overcooked. The fish was even overcooked. And he's like, what did I just eat? And I think many of us have had that experience where you're tasting real organic regenerative farm food, just even at a micro level. My dad has an apple tree in his backyard, and for the first time this year, it really matured and created so many apples. And these apples, when you tasted it, was tasting life itself. The enzymes just rush through you. Your body like has an instant spiritual smiley face on it.
Your dopamine just, all the right things happen because you're picking it at the right time.
Yes.
Versus the conventional method of taking it when it's young, ripening in the process of transportation, which is already crazy because distribution is our biggest obstacle in farming. And when we can shrink our distribution with having small scale farms like mine, having thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of farms like mine, feeding, hundreds of thousands of people and putting food on your tables, that's the direction where we hope to go in giving everybody an opportunity to do it themselves. And this is the new gold rush, whether you believe it or not. Now is the time to jump on board, to learn as much as possible about farming, about how to grow food, about how to create food sovereignty for you and your family. And that's what we're going to talk to you a little bit about here. We're definitely going to put a few links there so you guys can follow up on some of our, our the books that we love. And certainly we're going to give you some really valuable links that you can find some of the desertification projects. And then some really important information for you. Then you can start your journey into regenerative agriculture and market gardening. And if you do have a passion in market gardening and you're looking for, more consulting and you're looking into a side of wanting to learn, then definitely reach out to us as well. You can certainly reach us through our channel, and you can definitely look at us on YouTube. We have our channel there, Regeneration Nation, as well. So definitely tune into our channel when we're looking for some great content.
Thank you so much, guys. Regeneration Nation, you are amazing. If you've watched to the end or listened to the end on Spotify, you guys are incredible. You truly believe in abundance, and you truly believe it's inside of you to do it. Spread the hope, spread the word that we have the power to make this world a better place and a sustainably abundant place where we have everything we want and the world has everything it wants. And we live in this beautiful, rich, abundant, environmentally thriving world with all this beautiful animals, plants, vegetation, food, truly what our dream is. So thank you so much. If you're on YouTube, throw us a like, subscribe. That's going to be incredible to just continue to spread the word. And we love you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon.
Bye.